Hey guys, David from Hoops Southbound, doing your variety sports March Madness Mania recap for the first four round that we saw. Mainly going to focus on the 11 versus 11 games that we saw over the last 2 days. The first one we're going to talk about is Pittsburgh versus Mississippi State, which I felt like was a pretty good ball game that we saw on the first night in that game. Obviously, Mississippi State had a look for a chance to win that ball game, but came up just short. It's a really back and forth game. A lot of lead changes along the way. Very competitive ball game. Cummings for Pitt had 15 points. DJ Jeffries 9 points and 13 rebounds for Mississippi State. Really good game. Like I said, came down to who was going to get the last shot in that game. Mississippi State had it, but just could not convert in that game, and it just ended up not going their way. Of course, Mississippi State not a very good three-point shooting team, so I don't know why they opted into a three-point shot, even though it was probably one of the best three-point shots that you can get off on the floor. Corner three just came up a brick, couldn't come up with a rebound to put it back in either. 1-point game, and Pitt moves on 60-59, and they're going on to play in the next round as the 11 seed there. So they'll play Iowa State, and I think Pitt's going to be an interesting matchup with Iowa State, but I would definitely think that Iowa State would come away with the win should they face Pittsburgh. Well, they are facing Pitt, I should say, but I feel like Iowa State will be coming away with that next game. But oftentimes these 11 games, they come down to, they have momentum going into the tournament, so you never know what sixth seed might get upset by one of them. We've seen it in the past. It can definitely happen again. So Pitt, right now, definitely it's starting to get a little hot. That's their 23rd win of the season, and it's a good win over Mississippi State, who's a team that deserved to be in the tournament this year. Very talented defensive team, third best defense in the SEC. So it's a good win by Pitt. Solid win, and they got the job done. Also, what happened on Tuesday, and we'll go through this one real quick, was our 16 versus 16 game between SEMO State and Texas A&M Corpus Christi. That's not community college like some people have been talking about on social media. Texas A&M Corpus Christi, the Islanders, ended up taking that game over SEMO 75-71. Jackson had 22 points and 6 rebounds for the Islanders. They're going to be taking on Alabama in the South region, which I don't think it's really going to make much of a difference what team was going to face who there. I think Alabama is going to take care of business in this next game. I definitely favor Alabama over their 16 seed opponent in Texas A&M Corpus Christi, but still, it's a tournament win for a mid-major program, so that's solid for them. Turning to Wednesday, FDU ended up blowing out Texas Southern 84-61. A lot of bracketologists out there, or a couple that I saw, were thinking that Texas Southern would put up a better fight than what they did. But FDU got the job done and won it pretty convincingly for that 16 seed. They'll be taking on Purdue in the East region in that next game. So our next 11 game we're going to talk about was another blowout. It was an evening of blowouts on Wednesday night. But that game was between Nevada and Arizona State, and this game has become somewhat of a controversy, I should say. Arizona State beating Nevada 98-73. Horn with 20 points for the Sun Devils. Here's the situation that we're kind of being talked. That's kind of being talked about right now. Is, did Nevada deserve to be in the NCAA tournament? And I think if you look at where they are and what they accomplished, the answer probably is no. And I think the team that should have been in over Nevada was Oklahoma State. I mean, when you look at Nevada's resume, yes, they have the better net ranking over Oklahoma State, but the Q1 wins for Nevada come over Boise State, Utah State, San Diego State, and New Mexico. Not a very solid base outside of that San Diego State game for Nevada to boast their Q1 wins. And then their Q2 wins, they only had 3 of them. Sam Houston was one of them, San Jose State, and New Mexico again, and this time at home when they faced New Mexico. So that's why it's lined up that way. I do think the team that should have been in over them was Oklahoma State. When you look at Oklahoma State's resume, yes, they only have 6 Q1 wins, but they also got 4 more Q2 wins combined together for a total of 10 between Quad 1 and Quad 2. And let's not forget the nuance in this conversation where Oklahoma State did play in the toughest conference in the country this year in the Big 12. Very good basketball team. They beat West Virginia. They beat Iowa State. They beat Oklahoma, TCU. They beat Iowa State twice, I should mention. And they beat Texas Tech in Lubbock. This was a team that had some good wins along the way. Nothing incredibly stellar, but complete is the best way to look at it. I believe their best win was against Iowa State, who was 20th in the net. Very good team. They only had one bad loss throughout the season. Compare that to Nevada, who had two. The Oklahoma State only had one quad 3 loss, and that was to Southern Illinois, which is not anyone's favorite, but it was a 1-point loss at home. They were a rebound and a putback away from winning that game against Southern Illinois. So if that didn't occur, if they did get that one putback that they needed, then Oklahoma State would be probably in the tournament, all things considered, because they'd have no bad losses. So it's very interesting. Oklahoma State, to me, should have been the team that was in over Nevada. I know that there's probably a legitimate argument for any of those teams on the list, but I do feel like this is one that the committee ended up getting wrong, and we definitely got it somewhat confirmed in that blowout. So interesting night, though. And obviously the Arizona State-Nevada game is going to spark some level of controversy or in some discussion across social media, but that's going to be seen in the future. I know that, some fan bases are going to say the net's flawed, and that's what this was based on. And while, the net isn't perfect, it's definitely better than the RPI system, and especially for any kind of incentive to get teams to play better games in the early portion of the season, and a sport that lacks to get control or more eyeballs on it until mid-January when conference play is going. So, it's going to be one of those things, until you figure out how to answer that question, the net's here to stay. And that's the system that we have right now. So it's in place, and it's better than the old RPI system. But, there is a legitimate argument off of just knowing something that Oklahoma State did play in the tougher conference. They did have a number of Q1 and Quad 2 wins. So it should have been put on the committee to probably put Oklahoma State in. I know some people were talking about Rutgers as well being a team that should have been in, and probably would have put up a better fight against Arizona State. But you can probably make, like I said, an argument for most teams. But Nevada's that team right now that's kind of like, I don't know if the right choice was made there, but I do understand that, the Mountain West was, for instance, a better conference this year than the ACC when you looked at it on KenPom. So you just got to take in everything, and understand that the committee's not going to be perfect. They're going to make their selections. So at the end of the day, we got what we got, and right now Arizona State's moving on, and they're going to be facing TCU on this week on Friday. So that's a game to keep an eye on, because, like I said, a lot of times these 11 seeds come in off this one victory a little bit hotter with a little bit more confidence, and you never know what's going to end up happening. All right, so we've got more recaps that are going to be happening on Friday and Thursday and throughout the weekend. We get through what is probably one of the best weekends in sports. I don't know how you can't love the opening weekend of March Madness, especially for the first 2 days on Thursday and Friday. It gets crazy. So it should be a good time. It'd be a lot of fun. Be definitely looking out for all the guys on VSN to put recaps and some discussion on the games that we watched throughout the entire tournament. And without further delay, I'm going to let an ad play here, and I'll hope to see you guys later.
Let's be honest, you're here because you love sports. We love sports too. And our friends over at Row One Brand love sports as much as we do. Row One Brand sells sports wall art, sports gift watches, and vintage apparel with ornamental designs created from real game ticket stubs and vintage sports memorabilia in their collection. If you want some vintage Golden State Warriors memorabilia, they have that too. It's a sports collector's dream website for anything sports related. Go over to row1brand.com to check out their great inventory. And when you use the promo code VSP15, you'll get 15% off any item on the whole site. That's code VSP15 for 15% off any item on the site. So click on the link below and go check them out. Row Run Brands, America's best vintage sports